Okay, so this is just another assignment coming up, I believe mid-December. So this will be after your industry report is turned in and graded and given back to you. You are then going to move on to coming up with a proposal. Again, I just want you to have these ahead of time so you can start thinking, start managing your time, which is going to be a big thing if you haven't noticed yet in this program. It's essential, and it's going to be essential when you move into the workforce. So let's take a look at the team proposal. So in your industry report, you kept in mind the audience, your message, the visual impact, your personal input into being able to construct an informative narrative, which when we think of information, we think of just kind of boring and here's some things to say. Hopefully you've learned to stop putting everything into a list. That analysis is much better than putting things into a list. So we're going to move on to the next step. And now what you're going to do after you gave me all this information, now as your boss, I have to decide which one of your projects to actually give you money for. And I only have enough, and granted it's $4 million, but I only have enough to give it to one team. And I'm not splitting it up. It's only going to one team. So now you're going to be a little more direct in having to persuade me. So even though you were giving narrative analysis, you were still offering insight and opinion. Now you're just going to be outright, this is why you need to invest in us. And so you're going to use a persuasion strategy. You're going to use reasoning. You're going to talk about a solution. Well, with the solution, you're going to talk about a problem as well, because you can't have a solution without a problem, even though many businesses that fail start off that way. And you're also going to continue to do more research on how to solve this issue that has come up in the industry. You are now consultants. Congratulations. So as we move on, there are some additional resources to use. So as always, remember, use your Purdue OWL for citations and how to format. The secret handshake, that purple section, it has a proposal. This is how it should look. This is how I was taught. This is what I expect. Just saying, it's a $10 book. Go in on it. And then there's over here, if you just go to YouTube, and you go ahead and search for Plan Your Persuasive Strategy, he's going to teach you about rhetoric. And rhetoric is how we talk and argue to explain ideas. And he gives a lot of good information there. Now, keep in mind, this is not the only way to approach things. We have things like social contracts and just different social interactions of why people do things. And I would really suggest, if in your own time, if you're really trying to expand your writing skills and your reading skills, I would really look into someone who I really enjoyed and was fortunate to study under, but Dr. Nathan Podsakoff out of the University of Arizona talks a lot about reciprocity. So if I do something for you, having that feeling of I need to do something back for you, that's just a good reading, writing material, research material to explore in your time, and eventually will help you out in your writing. I know right now you're very focused on due dates, and I get that. So remember, since we're doing a persuasive argument and you know who you're trying to persuade, this would be a direct persuasive document. Keep that in mind. So when you're doing these documents, I feel one of the easiest things you can do is just pull up the examples that I've given and then just start replacing what's in there. That's exactly kind of what I have in mind. And even what you can do in the future, you're going to get different things you have to do. But if you have these documents already set, you have templates and you can just switch things out and create. So there's a lot less having to start from scratch. You would already have the roadmap in mind. All right, so let's talk about format. Your persuasive argument is going to consist of the body, the back matter, and the front matter. So your front matter is going to be just like we've done before: cover page, table of contents, executive summary. Since this is a shorter document, that executive summary can be very short. So just think of your perfect paragraph, like go straight into it. And yes, you will reiterate your perfect paragraph, but that's okay. I know what the assignment is. Just go ahead. That's fine. Your back matter is going to have 4 new references. I want to see that you're not just thinking you're done. So you're going to add 4 new references to your back matter, and you're going to have 2 new appendices. So that's just to see, that you're not stopping, that you're looking for more information, that you're trying to grow. And now we've established what the industry is. Now I want you to establish what the solutions or what the problems are. Now, the body of what you're going to be working on is going to be 3 to 5 pages. It's going to include an introduction. So set me up. Now, I know you just handed me an industry report, but you might want to go briefly over what the industry is again. Tell me a little bit about it. Maybe I didn't care and I didn't read about your industry. Maybe you ended up choosing soybean industry and I just didn't care. But now maybe I need to know. So short reiteration of the main highlights to let me know again what's going on. And then your body. So essentially, you're going to present, this is the problem, and this is how we're going to go about solving it, or how we should solve it. Now, keep in mind, your solutions should be very realistic. All right. So if the solution is we should start a colony on the moon, not so great. But maybe changing form 1105 to 1103, and we know that saves us an hour per form. That's a great solution. So one of the things you might even want to think about, and this can be part of your appendices, is now doing firsthand research. And all that means is you're not reading about your research, you're creating the research. And that's as simple as creating a survey. Go out and ask people. Do you even know about this industry? Have you had bad interactions with this industry? What would you like to see from this industry? So now you have firsthand account. That's a great artifact to add to your appendix. So think about moving from doing your book reading in your IBIS world and moving into you being more of the expert. Now, references are still required and are still a good thing, but doing some firsthand research, one, it allows you to narrow to what your argument is, and 2, it's kind of impressive. Also, let me take a step back as we go into arguments. Remember the section that you've watched the video about logos, ethos, and pathos. You're going to want to have a good mixture of that. So remember, you're going to want to build credibility. Going out and doing your own research makes you look certainly credible. You're going to want to evoke some emotion or some urgency. So why should I give you this money? Because this is something we can do now and make $3 million on. Oh, that pulls some emotional strings. It pulls on my desire to make more money. And be logical about it. So good research, like there has to be a good logical progression and analytical in order to move forward with this. All right, so how are you going to get started? We'll go back and review your industry report. Check out my comments. Maybe there's something in your own industry report that you forgot about or was in a section that you wrote. And so make sure you are fully aware. Remember, you want to be the expert. Identify an issue. What is going on in that industry? So for example, I've actually done research on yeast. And during the pandemic, as silly as it sounds, there was a huge and very tragic shortage of yeast. We do not think as normal everyday consumers how many products require yeast. So that was an issue. How did the shortage of yeast affect everything? And it did, because you couldn't get bread. And then businesses were fighting for it, but then there was more people staying home. So personal bakers were using yeast, and there just wasn't enough yeast going around. So after you identify the problem, conceptualize the problem. Like, think about it, really think about it. And I know this sounds silly, but this is one of my favorite and I think most beneficial tactics. Play and pretend. So get together with your team. Pretend you are in the industry. Pretend you're making decisions on this issue, and you'll see problems that come up. You'll solve a problem and then see where there's problems with your solution. Work through these problems. Do not just come up with a solution and think it is the best solution ever. You're going to have to work through these problems, and if you have difficulty visualizing those, how the solution works hand in hand and what are the outcomes, sit down and pretend and conceptualize what is going around and what are the consequences, positive and negative, that are going to be extracted from your solution. Then sit down and write. And most importantly, edit, edit, edit. So if you have any questions, email me or set up an appointment with me. The Calendly link is in the syllabus. Other than that, remember, this is a direct persuasive. Persuade me. And I will see you in December.